My name is Matt Slough. I'm the Director of Business Development at Reliance Infosystems and will be your webinar host today. In this series, we will be guiding you through the process of building a compelling business case for leveraging digital tools and communications to enhance employee experience. Before we get started, a few quick housekeeping notes. This presentation is being recorded. All attendees are muted and video is off. Please feel free to ask questions anytime in the chat. We will answer as many questions as we can at the end of the webinar. In this webinar series, we will be identifying challenges faced by HR professionals when implementing new technology. We will have a panel discussion to address key considerations and how best to overcome resistance and gain buy-in. We will leave time at the end to answer any questions you may have and discuss possible next steps. Please feel free to enter your questions in the chat at any time during the webinar. We will also have a few polls to keep this as interactive as possible and would appreciate your participation. A little bit about Reliance Infosystems. We are at the forefront of digital transformation around the world and have been in operation for over 20 years. We've grown our business by focusing on key areas such as innovation, security, and helping our clients succeed in the digital age. We operate in over 11 locations globally and have over 400 employees worldwide. While we do have partnerships with most of the major technology companies, our area of focus and expertise is on the Microsoft suite of products. We have won multiple Microsoft Partner of the Year awards in different regions. These honors show our dedication to quality and innovation. Most recently, we were recognized as Partner of the Year at the national level in Nigeria and Botswana. I'd now like to turn it over to our speakers, Marissa King and Inola Lawal. Inola, the floor is yours.
Thanks a lot, Matt, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Eniola Lawal, Global Employee Engagement Manager at Reliance Infosystems. It's nice to meet you all today. So today I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself and why I'm on this call today, right? Now, I started out my career as a generalist in the human resources space, and on a day-to-day, I deliver value when it comes to processes and structures. However, I soon discovered that while that is great, providing awesome employee experience is the real game changer, should I say, right? And by this, I do not mean, great pizza parties, ping pong balls, and all of those things. No, when I speak to employee experience, I'm thinking in terms of delivering people and culture transformation for the organization that I serve. And I hope that, other professionals are also able to join me in that endeavor as well. So why I'm on this call today is because from where I sit at Reliance Infosystems, I help organizations to discover the value of their employee experience and creating a good one, as well as the role that people and culture transformation plays in the ecosystem of that. So I believe that leveraging digital tools to enhance employee experience is the game changer. No matter how much we want to provide good experience, if we don't have the right technological support, we could struggle, right? So for me, where I spend most of my should I say working hours, right, from Monday to Friday, I want to have good experience, and I also want to be able to provide that to every other person that I work with as well. And as people professionals, we are uniquely positioned to support that at a strategic level. So for everyone on this call, I hope you sit tight and listen to what we have to share with you today. And then with me also on this call, we have Marissa as well. So I'll use the mic to her so she can say hi to you all.
Thank you, Inola. It's really a pleasure to join you today for this webinar. Thank you to everyone who has joined us today. My name is Marissa King, and I want to start by saying I'm a firm believer that effective communication is a powerful tool to drive impact, both in the workplace and in our communities and in our homes. Of course, today we're here to talk about our workplace. I have 20 years experience in corporate communications, in-house, agency, and now consulting. And I can really say with confidence that clear communications can be the difference between maintaining the status quo and inspiring positive change, encouraging people to take action and really do great work. to reach their potential. And it's that belief that led me to start my business, Unlock Communications, where I help organizations harness the power of strategic storytelling and communications to unlock their full potential. So to me, employee experience really matters because I believe that everyone deserves access to the tools and information that they need to thrive at work. And when employees are empowered, they can better connect, collaborate, and innovate. So a positive employee experience really is at the heart of every great business outcome. And so when we think about the heart of employee engagement, as Matt mentioned earlier, this webinar was designed with HR professionals in mind. And if we just advance to the next slide, I wanted to talk about a few things. So HR really is the bridge between organizational strategy and how employees engage in their daily work. You know, Matt, Enola, and I recently attended the CPHR Manitoba conference. And a key theme that was explored during the conference was that HR really is the heart of an organization. And you act as a partner with leaders to enable employees to thrive. And as someone who's worked in internal communications, I've worked with HR partners and really can attest to the crucial role that they play within an organization. So on top of that, we believe that creating a digital ecosystem within your organization is going to help drive your goals around employee engagement. Whether you're looking to get more out of existing digital tools that you already have or seeking buy-in to implement new ones, we're going to help you explore the key challenges that you're facing and provide you with a framework to build a strong business case for digital tools. And another point I want to reinforce is that digital tools and effective communication really go hand in hand. And no matter what challenges you're facing, effective communication is going to be essential in finding those solutions, the way you communicate with your teams and your partners within your organization. And so we're going to have a lot of discussion today to explore this further, and we hope that you ask lots of questions and offer comments in the chat. And but first, we're going to start with a poll. So Matt, I'm going to hand it over to you to get that going.
Thank you, Marissa. I believe our poll question will be popping up any second now. So I'm just going to...
No problem. I mean, we're here to talk about digital technology, and one thing's for sure is there's always some little glitch, but here we go.
Thank you very much. So for our poll question, what are the greatest challenges facing HR professionals today? Lack of time and resources, difficulty securing budget, limited IT expertise and integration challenges, or challenges in vendor selection and management? Please submit your answer now. Seems like limited IT expertise and integration seem to be one of the bigger challenges.
That definitely makes sense. And so now that we're seeing some of the responses come in, Enola, can you talk about how that aligns with your experience? You know, what challenges are you aware of that HR professionals face when building a strong business case for digital tools?
Yeah, thank you for that question, Marissa. So since I decided to wear the hat of technology tool champions when it comes to employee engagement and employee experience as well, one of the key things, like you see on the poll, is the lack of time and resources. Now, HR professionals are used to the day-to-day grind. There's a lot of people to sort out burning fires for at different points in time. So when you think back and you think would I really have the time to go through the entire gamut of learning about this tool, exploring it, and then implementing it for my organization? they are usually stressed out by that possibility in itself, right? I don't want to get involved. It seems like an headache. I mean, we already have HRIS, ATS works fine as well. Why do I need this, right? And what I usually say to them is that as now that you found the need to have an HRIS, I'm sure that there was a point in your career where you didn't think that it was an essential because, I mean, you managed a little number of staff, but now that staff strengths are going to like thousands at this point in time, you need to consider what would work for your organization. Can you physically cater to your employee experience on a day-to-day basis for thousands of staff in different locations at different points in time, right? You can't do that. So if you can't do that, why not just take on the challenge of learning about these new tools and, deliver effectively for your organization? So when they say this to me, the simple solution that I typically would offer to them is, there's no better time to learn than now. So it's better to take on that challenge at this point in time than to wait into the future and somebody else with that competence comes to take your job and delivers that experience for your organization. So think through it, look for partners that can offer you beyond technology, even on to training you about the tools as well, so that would support your learning journey as well as deploying it for your organization. And the second bit of the usual challenge is, how do I secure budget and resources? I mean, we have limited, CFO is saying no, my CEO, I don't even want to have that conversation with him or her and all of those things, right? And I understand that struggle because, I mean, businesses need to ensure that they are properly put together when it comes to their finances. So it's not far-fetched. It's their role. They typically will question your decision with regards to that. So what you want to do in that situation is to share with them the ROI. What is going to be the return on investment? Give them examples, give them things that they can hold on to in terms of fact and figure. You want to let them know that if they leverage this tool, this is what it will translate to in terms of business impact for them. And then you can even go ahead and do a cost-benefit analysis. This is the cost, this is the benefit. Do you think this will serve us? If we get this benefit, is this cost really that big of a deal to hinder us from getting this benefit that we need to get to and all of that? So you just want to have that conversation, and to have that conversation, there needs to be a level of, research, but we'll get to that soon. Let's move to the next one, which is the challenge of change. When we are stuck in our ways, it's difficult to want to transition to something else, especially when we feel like there's nothing wrong with what we presently have. I don't want to rock the boat. Maybe people will not like it. Maybe we will not succeed. Those fears are valid, right? And they exist in people's minds, even in the mind of those that are looking to probably implement this tool as well. So what you want to do in this instance is to have a sort of mind shift. Think through what needs to be done. How can I get it done? How can I get people to support me? Who can I reach out to for support? By the time you put all of these things together, you discover that what you think is daunting may not necessarily be the case. You might just find that people would be ready to not just even support you through technology implementation and training, they will support you and handhold you even through the change process in itself. So you want to keep an open mind. You want to be willing to transition from your legacy tools to digital tools that can effectively support your organization. Growth should be a constant. Change at this point is also a constant. So you want to continue to evolve and keep your mind open to that evolution as well. And then there's also the bit of technological expertise. And like Matt mentioned, this is usually the case for most people. I'm not sure I would know how to use this. I'm not even sure I'm ready to even begin to explore and all of those things. And they're not far-fetched, likely because organizations these days, you onboard different tools from different vendors, from different ecosystems, and you struggle with marrying them. You struggle with integration. You struggle with ensuring that they all work together without them necessarily overlapping. These are real struggles for some organizations. So when you're thinking through tools like this, you want to think through your present ecosystem and what would work for it, right? And I mean, this is saying this, hopefully that your present ecosystem is a good one, right? If not, maybe you should consider a total overhaul of your ecosystem, but that's a bigger conversation to have with your IT. But if you have a good enough ecosystem, you want to think of something within that ecosystem. And an example I like to give is, right now, I presently work within the Microsoft ecosystem. So if I'm thinking of an employee experience tool, I'm going to be thinking in line of Viva Suite, which is already within Microsoft. All I need to do is explore, look at what works, and onboard that. And that would support everything I need in terms of employee experience, because it covers everything employee experience end to end. So if you're already working within a Microsoft ecosystem, you need to look inward within your Microsoft ecosystem and consider what would work for you as well. And then the last bit on this is the vendor selection and management. And for this, most HR practitioners don't usually think about it, because I mean, it should be IT's job and all of that. However, this tool is for you. It's something you would get to own. It's something you would get to, work with on a day-to-day basis. So you want to think through a vendor that can effectively support you in that regard. So when you're thinking of a vendor, think of organizations that are trusted and well tested, people that are vast in that space, that have the right, credence, right, have the right certifications within their employees, have also the right, they've deployed this for the other organizations before. Those are major considerations for you, regardless of those that you have in your vendor, vendor buckets as we speak presently. So these things are very, very important. Different vendors have different strengths. But as you evolve, as you think through onboarding, as you think through having conversations with your management, these are major concerns that you yourself need to be able to get past before you then even move to building that business case at the end of the day. So what I would say to this overall is this: if you do not provide your employees with a good experience, they'll get it somewhere else. They will get it somewhere else, one way or the other. We now operate in a global village. People work from diverse walks of life right now, different locations, different time zone, and they are able to effectively work together. So you want to ensure that you have a digital tool that would support creating good experience across board for everybody at different points in time, or else you'll be stuck in that recruitment loop. People leaving you, not because of compensation, not because you're not, catering to their monetary needs, but because they just don't feel good working with you, right? So ensure that at the end of the day, you think through these things, get past those hurdles, reach out to vendors that can support you all around, and you're good to go.
Yeah, it's all fantastic points that you bring up, Eniola. And I say the same thing about communications. Communications in your organization is going to happen anyway, because we have to communicate. So what can we do to enhance that experience and make it even better so that people have access to the information tools they need? And so while that list of challenges may feel overwhelming and insurmountable, it is really critical to do that analysis, because every organization is going to be different size, different makeup, different needs, and they'll be on a different journey from a technological perspective. So doing that analysis is going to upfront is going to help you build a stronger business case, no doubt about it. So if you've done that analysis, you're going to develop a business case. You really want to start by, identifying your strategic objective. So ask yourself, what problem are you trying to solve? You've looked at your challenges. What's the core issue? What are you trying to solve? And what do you hope to achieve with digital tools? How will digital tools help you solve this problem? And then once you have that clarity, you want to align the adoption of technology with your organization's unique goals for employee experience. I think you'll hear us say that a lot today. It's about customizing your business case for your organization. You want to, assess your company culture. Are employees ready to engage with digital tools? It's okay if they're not, but you need to be honest with yourself, because you'll have to think through the maturity of change management within your organization and what you're going to need to do to bring people along the change journey. So it's just important to assess and be honest about where you are so that you can set yourself up for success. Understanding the makeup of your workforce really is critical. And so then lastly, you want to set really clear, measurable objectives. So it's never enough to just say, we want to improve the employee experience. That's a lofty goal, but there needs to be a real tangible organizational benefit. So consider how the tools can streamline administrative tasks, improve information sharing, and boost productivity. And again, you really want to tailor that approach to your organization's culture, operational needs, and then define the ROI. When will you get that investment? What's the timeline for the benefits realization? So now we really want to hear from you. We're going to set another poll up and about strategic objectives. You know, hearing from you, what strategic objectives are HR departments looking to achieve when building a business case for new technology and digital tools? So that's the question, and I think we're going to get that poll set up in a moment. It should pop up on your screen. Here it is. So we'll just give you a moment to answer this question. What's at the top of your mind, or what do you believe is at the top of HR department's priorities? So far we've got streamlining administrative tasks and boosting productivity are coming out on top, enhancing information sharing. So yeah, productivity, you know, a lot of these go hand in hand, right? And one supports the other. Okay, thanks for that. So now what we want to do is dive even deeper into some key considerations for building your business case. So let's spend some time on the administrative piece when we think about the benefits for the back-end administrators. And Yola, can you tell us how the right technology can save time and increase resource capacity?
Yeah, sure. So for back-end administrators, right, the benefits you want to look out for, or that you should at least have on the tools you're onboarding, is to consider tools that would afford you the opportunity to automate some routine tasks. And this could be as simple as tools that will let you add drafts, scheduling, just to reduce that manual workload. Because at the end of the day, if it's when you want to post, that's the only time that you can put it up, then you may just be stressed out, especially from a communication standpoint. Imagine you're serving thousands of employees and you need to share different information to different people at different points in time. When you put together your calendar, you may just want to put all of those on the platform, and then they go out at the time that they're meant to, so that you can attend to other things as opposed to worrying about time zone, worrying about time and all of those things. So automating those routine tasks are very, very important things to look out for, and would be a great benefit to have when you have your tools onboarded. And then there's also the bit of, bulk user management. I'll cite the same example again, having a number of employees and you have to manually upload. I can just imagine the stress right from where I sit, and I know that it will be cumbersome. That's not something I would want to get involved in at any day and at any time, right? So you want to consider a tool that offers you this benefit as well. And when I speak to bulk user management, I'm speaking to adding people to the platform. I'm speaking to even removing people from the platform because, yeah, you won't have employees leave, right? And then even updating their user profile and information on that platform. Their titles may change, their roles may change. So you want to have something that automates something like that. And also, even if you need to do the upload, you could bulk upload all of those things and bulk manage at different points in time. And then there is also the bit of data management as well as access to the platform. From an administrator standpoint, these are things that you should be able to do seamlessly without being stressed out about it. And when I speak to analytics, you should be able to track your engagement. You should be able to see the trends with regards to engagement. What are they interacting with? What's their sentiments like? How do you measure the impact of the different initiatives that you put on the platform? So consider tools that can offer you this kind of information in terms of data. And when it comes to access as well, you want to be able to manage the different access on the platform. Who can post what? What are the things they can post? Those things are essential as well. Because as much as we want to give employees a voice, you also want to have the proper guardrails, should I say. just to make sure that an employee cannot decide that I'm disgruntled and I want to put the organization on a blast. And then they put this information where everybody can find it. That's not going to look good on you, right? So you want to ensure that you have a tool that can cater to those two things as well in terms of benefits. And then another thing I'd say is the community and shared spaces. We're looking at a tool that can offer you these two things because employee experience, culture management, and all of those things should be a shared thing for the entire organization, right? It shouldn't just be about management sharing information with employees through you. It should be a place where they have a voice and a community as well. We are gregarious in nature as human beings. So you want to offer them a place where they can find people like themselves and where they can call a community of their own. And when you think about this, think about having a community that speaks to the different ARGs that you have within the organization, that speaks to the different initiatives, even if it's just as simple as a book reading club, right? You want to have those in place as well for your employees. And that would be definitely a good benefit to have on a platform for a backend administrator. And then the last bit I'll mention is having a scalable and flexible platform. I mean, that I think it should go without saying at this point. This is 2024. Your tool should be pretty much cloud-based and also should afford you the opportunity to customize, to brand, so that you can adapt the platform to your organization's needs. The simple look and feel that this platform will give to your organization may just inform their sense of identity, which is something you want to nurture as time goes on, right? So all of these different things you want to put in place. And when it comes to scalability, you don't want a tool where by the time your staff strength gets to like 300, you can no longer onboard people on the platform. That is such a stressful thing to think about because the organization wants to grow. And if it's going to grow, we need more people on board, right? And if your tool cannot accommodate that, that's just a different kind of headache to be considering. So as you consider all of these different tools, these are the key things that I believe that you should be looking out for in terms of benefits, automation, bulk management, data management, and even access, shared community and spaces for people to work with, also scalability as well as, flexibility as well. All of these things put together would ensure that you have a tool that caters to not just the information bit, it also ensures that as a backend administrator, you are effectively utilizing your time and the tool is, in terms of operational efficiency, is delivering the right value it should deliver to you. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Enola. You bring up so many good points. And having worked in-house, leading internal communications teams and working really closely with HR, I can definitely express frustration at the experience of not having the right digital tools, and also be able to speak very confidently about when you do have the right digital tools in place. It absolutely saves time. It makes things easier to manage and schedule. And then it allows you and your team to focus on the strategic and creative aspects of employee communication. And that's where I see a lot of value because you're enhancing and continuously improving when you're not bogged down in just trying to use tools that aren't working for you. So I think you really, really bring forward a lot of good points. So if we go to the next question, I'd like you to speak a little bit about governance, because you mentioned already a little bit about the administrative piece and how important that is, but what can you do to ensure proper governance for workplace technologies?
Yeah, great. I'm happy to speak to this. So when I think about this question, I think of what's best practice, and three things come to mind. That's the first would be content and people governance. You want to be able to manage what is put on the platform, not necessarily censoring in a way, but also maybe censoring, right? Because this is it is an organization and you would have different types of employees. And I've even had a conversation with a client before that said, no, my employees are not ready to have a voice on this platform. And at some point I was like, no, this is not the best way to go. This is not best practice. They should have a voice. And by the time he went into detailing the kind of things that they've gone up to in the past, in fact, I willingly offered him advice with regards to, so maybe these are the measures that you want to take with your Viva Engage. These are the things that you can do. This is where you can find what and all of those things. So people governance, content governance, and it can be as simple as some keyword bans or flagging it, if not necessarily outrightly banning it. Also, maybe having some sort of approval process, especially for people that have the right to put information and that would sort of like notify everybody within the organization, right? Maybe you want to have some approval process for that as well. Those are little controls that you can have in place and think through as you do the backend governance for your organization. But that speaks to content. Also, there's the people governance. Who are those that can add people onto this platform? Do they have to have this type of assets? What kind of assets do they have? Are they properly oriented as to these are the kind of people we want on this platform? These are the external parties you can bring into the platform and all of those things. Those are conversations you want to have. Those are things you want to be thinking through when it comes to backend governance for you as an organization as well. And then there's the usage policy. As you look through onboarding a tool, you also want to be consulting with your legal team, the entire HR team around what would our usage policy be like? What do we want to include in these policies? What guidelines do we want to have provided to people? How can they access it? How frequently do we want it surfaced on the platform, just as a reminder to them that this is what is going on? What behavior would you consider appropriate? How do you expect them to respect each other on the platform? You want to offer them advice and suggestion and all of those things. And then also it should include reporting, right? Because as much as you have usage policy, it's not every time that you're on the platform and you'll be able to see everything. However, if someone catches something on time, do they have the right channel and people to report to? Are they aware of who those people are within the organization? Those emails, those little key things are very, very important when it comes to governance of a large tool like this. And then there's the bit around data protection. People are very sensitive about it. And you can't fault them really, because you don't want your information where it shouldn't be, right? So you want to talk them through what data protection is available to you on that tool. You also want to consider encryptions, the access controls, the different backups that you may have on the system, just in case things fall through in the cloud and all of those things. So these things are like major tips I will offer to organization. Think through your content and people governance, think through your usage policy, who are the stakeholders that can help you with coming up with that, where you would put that, and what sort of information will be contained in the document, and also your data protection, letting people be aware of that, you also being aware of what is possible. All of these things put together would ensure that you have a platform that is safe for everybody to coexist, and also would deliver what you want in terms of people and cultural transformation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And these are points that are absolutely essential to cover in a pitch to leadership about, investing in digital tools or ramping their usage up in the workplace. They're really important. And, what we mentioned earlier around, employees will create an experience anyway. They will communicate anyway. And this is an opportunity to build some structure and discipline around it. And then, allowing the culture within those digital tools to be authentic, because those baseline things have already been taken care of. And I do think, there can definitely be some fear within organizations that enabling employees with digital tools, can open up some risks. So with that right governance, you're going to be able to mitigate those risks. And, the benefit is that you keep information sharing relevant and up to date. So I think those are really great points. So the next question may seem like we're jumping ahead, but it's important to think ahead of how you're going to use tools so that you can think that through while developing your business case. Enola, can you talk about how HR teams guide employees to use technology in a way that aligns with company goals?
Good question. Thank you for that. So when I think about this, right, what comes to mind for me first is articulating the why. And the reason I say this is because you know your people the best, right? But you also want to ensure that they connect to the vision with you. Because if you bring something on board and they don't understand why it is in place in the first place, it can be difficult for them to get behind. So you want to tie the why to the vision of the organization, to the mission, to the strategic goals per time. You want to ensure that all of these things are connected and properly articulated to them. If this means you have to have a sit down with different teams, different departments, if it will solve your problem, please go ahead and do it. I know that it may seem like a lot, but at the end of the day, if they use it and you get good experience and it delivers business impact, it's a win for you. So whatever gets you that win, put your energy into that is what I would say. And away from articulating, you also want to set clear expectations. This is the tool we're bringing on board. This is why we are bringing it on board. This is where I see you, and you playing in this particular ecosystem and on this platform as well. You want to let them know that these are the ethical guidelines, this is the compliance requirements. I mean, we've spoken to governance just a bit ago, right? So, but you want to ensure that they find their place on that tool. And the only way you can share that with them is by letting them know, ensuring that they understand that these are the kind of things. So as a manager, I see you posting something like this. As an employee or as a champion, I see you doing this. I see you doing this, leveraging your power, your influence for this and this and this. When they see that I can connect to that, it's easier for them, for you and for them also to make use of that platform. And then something else I'll say on this is that you want to highlight what your core value is and connect people to that and the culture of the organization. I mean, these are a little bit different from the culture and the vision and the mission of the organization, but the culture as well. What exists right now? How do we deviate from that? And how does this connect to what we still want to have within the organization? And I say this hoping that you already have you are at a good place with regards to your culture within the organization. If not, then you let them know this is the vision that you see for the culture of the organization, and this is how this tool would, play a role in ensuring that we get to this end point, right? So you want to say that clearly as you possibly can as well. And then when you think through training as well, when you want them to adopt a new tool, you want to think through trainings that address directly their skill gaps. And when I say this, I understand the place of org-wide training. They're good. It's very interesting to join. Sometimes some of us doze off on that call, right? Largely because first, you don't want to ask questions during those type of calls because you feel like the dummy in the group, right? So you want to think through training people and meeting them at their point of need, should I say. So consider the different training opportunities that you can provide. Do you want to consider training the trainer? Do you want to consider peer-to-peer training? Do you want to have cluster groups? Ensuring that they are properly trained is the goal at the end of the day. So however way you can ensure that that end goal is met is what you need to consider as you put together your training plan when you're onboarding a new tool. So if you need to segment your audience, if you need to have them in cluster groups, that's a good way to go if that's what is necessary. And then something else I'll add to this is that you want to also leverage your champions. And when I speak to champions, these are people within your organization that probably would gravitate towards the utilization on that tool on a normal day, even without requiring so much of training, just because maybe they are super tech savvy, they just find new things interesting and they're willing to explore. If you have those people, ensure that you have a way of identifying them. When you identify them, leverage their influence within the organization, so that you don't overburden yourself with training everybody. HR is joining different calls on the same day. You tire yourself out and you may not still get that win, right? But when you get employees to influence others, in fact, there's a way that when it's someone else speaking, some employees will receive it better just because it's not HR. You want to leverage those people to effectively deliver value for you in this scope. So you want to nurture your champions. You want to ensure that you provide them with what they would need to succeed in the new assignment that you're willing to trust to them, and ensure that you set them up for success. And the last bit I'll mention on this is that you also want to have proper support resources for people. And I'm saying this because I have struggled in the past with it. I'm looking at a new tool and I need to be reaching out to the vendor with regards to, so I don't understand this. What do I do with regards to this? Those are major headaches because the person I'm trying to reach out to may not have my time at that point in time. So if you need to have content provided to people in bite sizes, if you need to have like a user guide, if you need to have like an FAQ, if you need to have like an help desk, to support them during their adoption journey. You want to make that provision. I know that all of this sounds like extra work. I completely understand that, but you can build that over time. You don't already have to have everything figured out from the beginning. You just need to be able to have thought about them and put measures in place that can support you. But these things are very, very essential, because when you don't effectively cross that resistance point, you will struggle at the very end. So it's better to cover them all at the beginning. So yeah, I think these are ways that I think it will be great for HR professionals to think about when they onboard new tools.
Thank you so much for covering those. I think they're really important to consider upfront, because I think it could be easy to fall into a trap of getting so caught up in deciding what technology to use and how to integrate it that you could lose sight of the user experience and what people will need to leverage it. And so there might be some costs associated with training. You can do training and communications programming cost effectively, but you don't want to ignore that. You want that to be a part of it so that you're setting yourself up for success. So I do think it's really important to think through the whole journey and the whole experience so that the business case is really, really strong. And then, as I said, you're setting yourself up for success. So the next and last question I have for you, again, is looking into the future, and maybe this is a bit of a teaser for part 2 of our webinar series. But can you give us a few tips now about how you can ensure employees get the best experience from the digital tools that are available to them?
Yeah, sure. Happy to. So yeah, tips. Okay, so the first thing I'll mention is communication. And I think Marisa already covered this, and like she mentioned, maybe a teaser into the next session that we'll be having. But communication is a big deal. Is at the very foundation of any kind of change, any kind of onboarding of digital tool, even providing experience, right? Communication is at the core of it. And when we speak to communication here, it should be something that you think about with the receiver in mind. And I say this because I've watched a lot of people fall into the trap of this is what needs to be said, and then they just go ahead and dump it like that, right? Without thinking of who the recipient is and how they would take that information. You don't want to make too much of a jarring change, too much of a jarring conversation with them. So you want to think through how you communicate with them in such a way that it's easy for them to digest, right? Some people prefer to read text. Some people prefer videos. Some people would like to look at graphics, right? And with the different demographics of people that we have in the workforce today, all of them delivering value, you should be able to cater to their communication needs as they would like for you to do that. So if it means delivering the same communication in 3 different ways, just to cater to the different segments of people, please go ahead and do that, right? And then also the second thing I'll mention is that you want to make it fun. I struggle with a workplace that is not fun. I struggle with a workplace where, I mean, just a little bit of banter, even if it's meme, right? There's a way that people create community online. You see one person with millions of followers just because they are fun to their audience, just because their audience can connect with them. You want to create that kind of environment for them at work as well, right? So make your communication fun, make it a great experience for them, give them that little bit of dopamine per day, and you see that you find different ways that they would change and even support the cause that you bring to the organization. And then another thing I would say is that you want to also think through, having a user-friendly interface, something that is nice to look at, not necessarily, oh, it gets me from here to here, I get it. But if it doesn't look good, if it doesn't look interesting enough for me to want to play with, I'll just look at it and move away, and that be it, right? So you want to think of user-friendly interface.
It just went away for a second, but you can continue.
Okay, so something I was going to say is ensuring that there's a user-friendly interface, something that is good to look at, and also the design is interesting as well, right? And then the next thing I'd mention is that you want to also be able to gather and act on feedback. That's my final tip when it comes to this. And when I say gather and act on feedback, what I'm speaking to here is not just gathering information and not necessarily acting on it. Typically, people get frustrated with that. And the reason that happens is because you gather those feedbacks and you never really act on them. And they begin to wonder, what's the point of sharing this with you in the first place if you're not going to do anything with it? So you want to make sure that at different points in time, you gather their feedbacks and are able to, even if it's just to let them know that I get it, I understand where you're coming from, we can't act on this at this point in time, but you want to still make sure that you're sharing with them that this is the stage that the organization is with regards to this, so that next time when you ask for that same feedback, they're able to provide it to you as well.
Yeah, all really, really good points, very insightful. And I love your point about making it fun. I think, people are seeking connection and belonging at work. And no matter where we're sitting, what, part of the country or what part of the world or what part of the city, digital tools can really open up an important channel where people can be themselves and have some lighthearted moments. And that can open up a lot of inspiration and creativity and innovative thinking. So I don't think you can underestimate the value that a little bit of fun can bring to the workplace. So now, let's say you've got an amazing business case put together. It's strong, it's evidence-based. We know that resistance from leadership can still occur. So at this point, we're going to talk through some strategies for overcoming that resistance. So Enola, can you get us started? And then I'll chime in as well with a few points.
Sure, I can. So to start off with this, I usually would tell people that your leaders the best. You've gone through building the business case for them, letting them know what is going on and all of that. You know them the best. You've worked with them for a period of time, or at least you should at least try to get to know them and do a little bit of research if you don't know them, right? And from that, you know the best way to communicate the benefits of the tool you're looking to bring on board, as well as how that will transition for them within the organization. So you want to speak to the benefits of the tool you're bringing on board. And when I speak to this, think about articulating in the tangible benefits. What exactly would they be getting? Quantify that. I believe Marissa mentioned this at the beginning of the presentation as well. Quantify it for them in such a way that they see the numbers, if it's possible, right? Give them real world examples, case studies, organizations that have tried it in the past, how that translated for them in terms of business impact. Show them what the potential is based off of what others have done with it and what the potential is for your organization as well. Connect those two things. And then also you want to demonstrate the ROI. Let them know what the return on the investment of this tool is. You want to consider both the direct and indirect costs as well as benefits. They don't want to be blindsided with just the benefit of things without you stating the cost, because it then feels like you're trying to cover something up. So let them know what the cost is, let them know what the benefit is, and hopefully the benefits would outweigh the cost in your case, right? And then you also want to share success stories, highlight specific examples like I mentioned before. You want to show them how this would improve efficiency for the organization, what this would translate to in terms of if there will be cost reduction, what this would translate to in terms of the employee experience in itself as well. This is where our employees are with regards to their experience. This is where we hope to deliver them to with this tool on board as well. Connect those two dots, right? So, and you also want to add quantifying the impact of this to the company's objective per time, what your employee satisfaction rate is right now, what you want it to be, how this tool will play in that, as well as productivity as well again. And then another thing would be to consider addressing their concerns directly. I'm a fan of front loading. Let them know upfront. There's no hiding your hand or surprising them. Nah, that can just be very, very messy, because when they start to ask the question and you respond, it can easily seem like you're being defensive. But if you address it right upfront, it's better that way. So anticipate their potential objections. You've gone through the gamut of all of this research when you were building your business case. think through all of those questions you add, document them, and provide responses to your own management as well. Because, I mean, it's their job to resist it because they don't want to spend money. And I agree with them because, I mean, the economy is what it is, right? So, but you want to make sure that you let them know what they put, you understand what their potential objection could be, and then how you can easily address that in your presentation to them as well. So prepare thoughtful responses, address their security concerns if the CTO will be in the room, workflow disruption, what would that look like for the operations team, and address all of those things in the different ways that it can translate for different departments as well. And then something else I'd say is that you want to involve your stakeholders early on. Ensure that you get their buy-in. And even if this means before the meeting, you have a quick chat with them. So this is what I'm bringing on board. This is how I see it impacting your team. Although these are the challenges that we may face, but I'm sure we can get through it if I have your support with regards to this and all of that. By the time you put all of these things together, it's a much easier conversation when you get to the room and you provide them with all of these details. Yes.
I think those are really good points. And I'll actually just add something to your point around quantifying the impact, because there might be some people who think, oh, well, we're not doing a good job at tracking productivity. We don't really measure productivity. It's really difficult, to put a number on that. You can get, creative and as long as you're communicating the assumptions you've made. So, if you really look at it and say, okay, we're getting 50 employees emailing the same question every week. We have one staff in HR spending 1 hour responding, we could cut that in half. Or if we have employees, we think they're spending an average of 30 minutes a week searching for a policy, we can cut that in half. And you can kind of do the math. And as long as you're explaining where your assumptions came from and where your numbers came from, then you can add credibility to that. And it's a starting point. So, don't feel like if you don't have really hard numbers at your disposal that you won't have any at all. There are ways that you can find some as long as you're being transparent about where those numbers came from. So the last 2 points that a couple points that I'll make to just, reinforce what we've been saying. When you're communicating, you're pitching this to senior leadership, be strategic, always show how your investment aligns with company goals. Be really concise. I think we talked about a lot of things today. It's really important to focus on what will benefit your organization the most and show how you're being strategic with the recommendations you're making. And then be confident. You've put the hard work in, you've done the research, you've refined and articulated the benefits. Really believe in your case and the value of digital tools to drive employee engagement. Keep up the good fight. And you might get that resistance, but you're armed with the strategies of how to respond. So stay confident. So with that, we wanted to open it up to any questions you may have or comments. We have been monitoring the meeting chat. You can send anything through right now, and we'll give you a few moments to do that. And definitely want to be able to answer any questions you might have. But don't be shy.
And while you're asking those questions, I was wondering, we've got one last poll. Are we able to pull that up, please? Perfect. If you wouldn't mind submitting your feedback there, that would be greatly appreciated. Your feedback goes into improving the quality of future webinars. Right. If anyone has any questions that come up after the webinar, please feel free to reach out. We're always here to support you. Just wanted to cover off or let everyone go. As a thank you for attending today's session, Reliance Group and Unlock Communications in conjunction are offering all attendees a complimentary one-on-one advisory service. Please use the shared link or scan the QR code to book your session today and provide your contact details if you'd like to take advantage of this offer. Just give everyone a second there. You want to scan that QR code. And then lastly, Here's the QR codes if you'd like to connect with us on LinkedIn or Facebook. QR codes are provided here. Be on the lookout as we will be announcing a date for part 2 of this HR webinar series. We're expecting to have that date finalized within the next week or so, and we'll likely be shooting for somewhere around mid-January. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Really appreciate your time today.